What's up, everybody? Welcome to the first ever episode 156 of the Kind of Funny Gamescast. As always, I'm Tim Gettys, joined by one of the coolest dudes in video games, Greg Miller. And joining us for the first time, the very lovable Nick Sutner.
I'm also down with the sickness.
You are?
Yes, he is. That's what I like to hear.
So, Nick Sutner, you actually wrote the book on Shadow of the Colossus.
I did.
In your Twitter bio, it says you literally wrote the book.
I'm glad I could literally write the book on something.
Yeah, and that's fantastic. So what I love about this, the reason that we have you on this episode is I beat the Shadow of the Colossus remake. We're going to be doing thank you.
What a man.
Thank you.
Wow. No trophies to prove
We'll
it,
never know,
apparently.
though.
But yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but I wanted to have you on the show because, you are quite aware of this game and its intricacies.
Well, we're mutually interested because I actually haven't played the remake yet, so I'm really curious to hear how you feel about it.
There's a lot going on there.
Yeah.
But then I also beat Celeste, and then in the credits, I see your name pop up, and I was talking to Greg, I'm like, this is the perfect episode to have you on. I love this.
Timing works out pretty well.
So, ladies and gentlemen, this episode is going to be about reviewing all of the amazing games that have come out within like a week time frame.
Hell yeah.
The
Hunter.
January 2018 is already starting to look like 2017 in terms of, is this one of the best years in video game history? I just can't believe it. It's a great time for everybody. This is the Kind of Funny Gamescast. Each and every week we get together right here on youtube.com/kindoffunnygames and talk about video games and all the things that we love about them. You can get the show early by going to patreon.com/kindoffunnygames, just like our boy Tom Bach did, our Patreon producer. He's a beautiful person. You can get the show early. You can watch it live for just $1. You can get the show VOD with the whole pre-show and post-show for $10.
In the pre-show, we make fun of Tim a lot.
We do, and it's a good time. I even make fun of
Do you think he looks goofy with the hat, not with the,
It's a little hot for the hat. You guys...
Oh,
you gotta deal with the fuzz.
Now, Nick, this is a big deal because Tim is king of fashion over function. So that'll let you know how hot it really is here in San Francisco today that he's going to let himself be on camera with that hair.
Go.
Well, because if he kept the hat on, it was going to like wilt into how
what
you
he
want
hates.
it.
He wants to become
what he hates.
Yeah, exactly. The real thing is, will he ever lose this bomber jacket?
Oh, it's coming off at some point.
Wow, ladies and gentlemen, if you are an audio listener, pull the car over and get your phone out and start watching this on YouTube.
Things are about to get really crazy. I want to jump right into it, Greg.
All right.
Monster Hunter World.
Come on and let the hunt be the hunted.
That's what they say. That's what they've been saying. You and Kevin have been playing this. Have you played it at all, Nick?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
Have you ever played Monster Hunter?
No, so I remember when I have a very strong memory of when Monster Hunter was first announced and seeing it in some magazine at the time, and I was like, oh my god, that sounds like the greatest concept ever.
Yeah.
And then it was revealed that it didn't have any voice chat, and I was playing, I forget the exact timing, but I believe I was playing like SOCOM at the time and super into it, and I was like, if you can't talk to your friends, what's the point?
What's the point? This is
and
a
so
fad.
I just sort of like wiped it out of my brain, like, I'm not gonna play that game. And then I waited and waited, and now I'm interested in some ways. I still have never touched one though, so I'm curious.
Wow,
and
really?
everyone I know is playing it.
Because we haven't run. Your history, of course, EGM, 1UP. You went to PlayStation. Now you're out here gun for hire, doing all this awesome stuff.
True.
I'm weird that I think on paper I never ever would have given any Monster Hunter a chance.
Mm-hmm.
But when I got hired at IGN, it was Jeremy Dunham's, we're going to review everything and we don't care what anybody likes. So I reviewed 2 PSP versions of Monster Hunter.
Yeah.
And so it's an obtuse game now, let alone back then.
Yeah, and for a while it was primarily a portable series, right?
Exactly. And so we would have, when I was reviewing it, Capcom would do desk side visits where they would come and just play with you for hours and explain intricacies and stuff.
Visits.
Yeah, and I fell in love with it there, at least learned to appreciate it, even though I was using the PSP claw finger.
God.
Exactly. It was a big thing back in the day that then Peace Walker, of course, perfected
the claw.
But once I moved away from reviewing it and it came to the Wii when it came with that controller and it came to 3DS or maybe just DS, I always confuse those. It was very much something I was like, oh, cool. I've had my time in those. I'm not very interested into it. And so even when they announced it for PS4, it was awesome. I'm glad that series is there. I know how important it is. I know how much people love it. Won't be for me. And then the closer we got to release, the more people talked about because I would talk about on the shows. I just wasn't that feeling it. And people were like, no, they fixed this and they did that and blah blah blah. And it was as Kevin and I all at the end of or throughout 2017 were warming up to actually playing multiplayer games together and going home. This was the one of I would say December, I was like, fuck, I can't wait for Monster Hunter World now. And so then I started putting in Kevin's ear that he got into it. Kevin, were you excited for Monster Hunter World?
All right, don't freak out, but yeah, I was pretty excited.
Oh Jesus! You're such a monster.
Don't freak out.
You weren't excited. You were at first. You were telling me you wouldn't play it at all.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, wasn't listening to the question, but yeah, no. At first, I wasn't excited, and when it came out, I played maybe like 3 hours on my own.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, this game keeps trying to talk to you.
Yeah, you hate it when games talk to you.
Yeah, and it's just like I don't care. I just want to play.
I heard that.
And now I'm like maybe 9 hours in,
Yeah.
and I'm really enjoying it.
Kevin and I are addicted to
Really
this.
like
Okay.
it.
So when you say 9 hours in, is that like, is it, are you just playing with friends the whole time? And is it like, is it like Destiny where you're sort of doing the same raids?
We're
as
not
it
doing
were,
the same
or-
stuff. We could if we wanted to,
Okay.
right? So it's broken up into like basically here's your story missions, here's your optional missions, here's your expeditions that you can go out on and do the different stuff because there's like tons of people in your like village square or whatever giving you like, oh, well,
Yeah.
I researched mushrooms for me and shit like that.
And is it all multiplayer driven? Like even in story mode, that's a thing you're intended to do co-op?
Story mode, not so much.
Yeah.
Story mode is a pain in the ass to play story missions with
But it
each
doesn't
other.
even slow us down.
It doesn't slow us down. Well, it slows us down actually, but it's
Okay,
just
yeah.
annoying because what it is Kevin will. It works like it did on PSP, right? Where of like, all right, cool. You go to the quest board or to your keeper, and you're like, all right, now I'm gonna pick this quest to do. You post it, and the way they run it is interesting. Where it's you and I think it's 16 players can be inside of your like hub world, and you can all go do your own fucking thing and not worry about it. But when you're getting ready to make a quest or whatever, you can go post it and choose if it's private or public, and then people can come join you that way.
And that's 4-player, right?
Yeah, exactly. The problem is though, like Kevin and I were trying to work it out. Like, I had been playing before him, then he played a little bit after me, and we're trying to we finally got it to okay, we have the same story mission, let's go. And he'd post it, and I'd go to join, and it would be like, you haven't progressed enough in the story to do this. And I'm like, but I have the same mission. And what it is that you have to start the things solo. And like it's usually every mission is like, oh, go and find this monster. So you go in there, and then you when they reveal a new monster, you get the cutscene of the monster getting revealed. You both have to individually play to that part. Then one of you has to quit out and then join the other person's quest that way, just for the story.
Yeah.
If you do the optional stuff, if you do exhibition, I screwed up a time. Not exhibition.
Expedition.
Expedition.
That's right.
You go out there and you do it that way. You can jump and go from the start and be fine.
Gotcha.
And so, like, even going back on certain things, it's fine. But like at the moment, trying to play it, both players have to have seen the cutscene for you to be able to join on it. So that's stupid for story, but it's a little gripe in a game that's awesome. And it is like Kevin and I feel like had way more problems. This sounds stupid, I know, but way more problems getting PUBG to work with both of us when we first started, didn't we? Or no, GTA
Yeah,
Online.
PUBG was
way more
straightforward.
fucking complicated in terms of how we're going to play the same match together. Or like, it was just a pain in the ass because there was no simple answer when we were looking for, all right, we're in the same game world. I set this up, but random people are joining. How do I private and blah, blah, blah.
Even now, I'm still not sure how to get it to work. I have a feeling like we still
GTA?
have to use someone that is a higher
Well,
level
remember,
that
it was
can build
Peanut
for
telling us, that we were, since we were so low level, we didn't have it. Who the hell knows? GTA Online, dead to us. Monster Hunter World, live to us.
So what makes it awesome?
It's the grind of video games. It's the hook of video games.
Because that's I will say that's actually one reason why I'm not as interested as I would be. Is I'm not really into like loot of any sort, and I don't really play games for that sort of elite part of the gameplay loop.
Yeah.
So and I don't play a lot of stuff. I mean, I used to play a lot of SOCOM, like I mentioned, and Halo and some Rocket League, but I'd mostly have fallen off like online, multiplayer gaming. So I'm curious, is that like how much of the driver is that, or like is the actual combat and hunting and everything just inherently fun as well and really well done? Like
it's as well done as it
balance for
ever
you?
is. Where it's like I wish it was more one-to-one button control action, if that makes sense. Instead of getting into combos where I'll be like, lock,
Animations
the monster
going.
moves, and I keep going. I'm like, that
Right,
fucking
right.
sucks. But like that's a small part of it. Whereas like the joy of it is Kevin and I bullshitting around, running, finding the guy, then I'm coordinating traps I'm putting down. He's talking about where he's at. His cat is helping me out doing all this different stuff.
It's super satisfying to like actually do damage and see the giant monster get hurt. Tim, can you move your hands when I move mine?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
See
If
this
you're an
giant,
audio listener, Kevin has green screened his head in over
And he's
Tim's
so
body
pleased with
perfectly.
himself.
so good.
It is really good.
Yeah, it is really good.
All right. Yeah, I mean, but it is very, very gratifying. There's something about like this giant monster that like is T-Rex size coming at you, and you're just standing there with a little fucking hammer,
Man.
It's not little.
Do I have the game for you?
I'm trying to say, which game are we talking about?
Yeah.
But it's learning to dodge roll. It's learning to work together. It's learning like we're still at the point where obviously where we're taking on monsters the first time. So when you start wearing them down and they're kicking our ass, but suddenly they start coughing up poison or whatever, like oh fuck, we're actually doing damage, or they get angry and all of a sudden are breathing fire. Like last night we were playing and it was like we're working on this guy and he's way too big and we're working. And then finally like a dragon 4 times bigger or whatever showed up. And we're like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? Like we're terrified of him.
Fish.
He's fighting him. We're like in pandemonium mode trying to figure it all out.
I was watching someone play a bit recently, and I do like how the sort of like damage state of the monster is expressed through their animation. And that's
there's no health bar for them, right? You just are trying to, you're never quite sure how close you are, but they'll give you signs that, this is it. And every one of them has a different strategy. Every one of them, I think, we're getting to the point where we're fighting monsters where I've just been going with my dual blades, right? And Kevin's mainly been using a hammer. But like last night, he started working with the gun lance and all this stuff where it's like, all right, we have to start expanding out. And like, because it's, the gear loop to it isn't like Destiny, where in Destiny it was, a Bright Ingram. I can't wait to get that and bump up my stat. And it's very much like you see all the sets and of armor as you beat new creatures, you see then that set unlock and you see what you can do for it. And so I have a costume I like a lot right now. I see like Grimecraft. I think he stopped making music and just plays this game because he's everything I look, he's like fucking insane and has all this awesome gear.
Yeah, you look like a badass Shovel Knight.
Right? And that's the thing where it's like I totally aspire to be that and to put that much into that game. But even right now, I don't feel like I look dumb. And I also feel like the rewards I'm getting are building up and making what I have better. But it is that thing of like right now, Kevin and I are out there fighting what I know from experience are smaller monsters and we're doing like, 5 hit points damage here, and it's like, well, I can't wait to where this is actually cranked up, and we come back to these guys and just lay them out because we're trying to, we're so much better here.
My other new Monster Hunter question is, what's up with these cats?
Yeah, so that's the thing is, I have 2 questions. One is, why is my timeline totally filled with the cats?
Well, you loved it, you said. So
I do love it.
Don't look a gift horse in the mouth.
The second question is, what's up with these cats?
The second question is just like, and why are they like sushi chefs?
Because that's what the cats have always been, or in the palicos. They have always been in Monster Hunter. They've always just been your little companion.
Wait, so are they supposed to like not be cats? They're like palicos?
Correct.
Is that their species?
Yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
Because
they can talk to you, right? What is it, Meowster? Instead of Master, they call you a Meowster.
They don't say now, they say meow.
Okay, that's what has sold me on the game more so than anything else.
Right,
So-
but it's very much like they're a critical part of solo play, where they have a weapon of their own. They're not doing a lot of damage, but what they'll do is draw aggro. So like rather because you need to run away and drink a potion to heal,
Are you
or
like
take an
bossing them
antidote.
around, or like
No, they're on their own.
Okay.
There might be elite strategies where people do that. I definitely haven't gotten into worrying about that yet. But they'll draw aggro. You get to run away. You get to set up a trap or do whatever.
Do you like them? Like, are they cool or are they like Slippy from Star Fox?
Fucking awesome.
Kevin says they are fucking awesome.
Sorry,
But do you like Slippy?
No, Slippy sucks. But like, it's the kind of thing where like you're playing and you're like, "Fuck, my health is down."
Yeah.
And then they come out of nowhere with this like bug that gives you life, like that they just brought to you.
It's true. That
And
happens.
it's like, "Fuck, thank God."
They're helpful, and I think that's more than anything. I would say I have a positive disposition to them, but I'm not like in love with my cat. Cat.
Last sub question: is the sushi? Is this monster sushi of the monsters you kill, or is the sushi that they're just feeding you from fish from the river to help buoy your monster efforts?
That's a great question.
Normal fish, like you imagine those fish become monsters.
Everything's a monster in this world.
I think since we're so low right now, and I haven't even fucked around that much in the canteen, a cantina to really get a feel for it. I would assume that the menu upgrades and changes as you go or whatever. But yeah, it's a weird game of. Yeah. It's a weird game, period. You can put an end of the sentence there. But I mean, of like, you're supposed to eat before you go out to have more stamina. You cook meat on the spot to get it to have more stamina.
Right.
There's a million little...
and probably, I imagine that Zelda also got a lot of people thinking about that recently,
sure.
too.
Yeah, and that's the thing is...
meat to prep.
It's very interesting in the way... Monster Hunter on PSP, when I was told, you're reviewing it, it was like, okay, this is a big deal in Japan. Okay, like I know it moves PSPs and I know that. And the fact that over here it was such a niche. And when I was reviewing at the time, I really didn't know anybody else in the industry. And then granted, you remember this, it was a much more insular industry where we did not talk to other publications. But I didn't know people who were like huge Monster Hunter fans. And it wasn't until... when we came out, I remember Charles Onyett revealed himself to be a huge fan. I was like, what? Where the hell? Why did we never talk about this back then? It doesn't matter. And then now, I think you mentioned on maybe Kind of Funny Games Daily of like, Monster Hunter World is really the Persona 4 Golden of this franchise, where it's like everybody suddenly is like, oh, this is awesome. I've heard great things. Now it's on a platform I like. Everybody's playing it.
Also, there's like a mainstream awareness. Like I was a couple days ago, I was in this little tiny diner in Michigan in the middle of nowhere, and there was like a sports bar like everywhere is there. And they had like ESPN on mute, but then like there's a Monster Hunter commercial, and I was like, okay, this really is like this is a huge thing.
I think we're just in a much more interesting spot, I think, for online gaming, games as a service, whatever you want to call it. But where it's like before, it was like, oh, this is a cool PSP. Let's ad hoc play and do all this stuff. It was like, that's cool, but not many people were doing that. And we, as Americans, weren't that society where it was in Japan. Okay, you're on the train. There's another person.
Yeah, we don't like looking at each other in person.
Exactly. But I mean, even now where we are with online gaming, with games like Destiny, or with games like any of the other games and services that have crossed over. We even remember how it was so weird. I remember being a console player and talking to people who played WoW and MMOs in general, and you're just like, wow, that didn't exist on consoles for so long. Whereas now the idea of going home and Kevin and I put, I guess it was probably a 50-minute time limit into the T-Rex the first time we saw him before, when we were way under level, and we kept getting our ass kicked. And it was like, well, we are getting nothing from this. We are wasting time. We are wasting resources. But fuck, is this fun?
Right.
Yeah. So is that what you were talking about earlier? Where I thought it was 9 hours. Or no, 9 hours is total what you put in. So an hour,
so far I put about
an
10 hours
hour
in.
into a fight, and you lost. You got nothing from it. Do you gain experience points? Is there any type of loot that you're getting, even if you don't catch the monster? Do you catch the monster? Or you kill the monster.
Kill the monster.
Got it.
Well, you can't capture small
I imagine
monsters.
maybe like Dark Souls, where you're just learning.
Exactly. A big part of it is learning their methods, your methods, what weapons you need or don't need, or how that would work. Yeah, because you only have limited inventory space you can come into. You have a giant chest at home with all your stuff in it.
I should know this, but is this one coming to Switch?
No, it's not.
I asked because I was just interested about that part of like Nintendo's trying to cultivate the we hang out and play with our
Sure.
Switches
Yeah,
together. Seems like it would be a good fit now, but I don't know.
Yeah.
There's a bug flying around.
There is. I'm trying to get him out of the fuck away.
No, I don't. I think. I mean, it's one of those. Kevin, how's it running on your normal PlayStation 4? I've seen kids in my timeline complaining about it. I'm playing on a Pro.
It's running fine.
Okay.
I honestly don't have any complaints.
Okay.
So
that'd be my thing. I don't know, not to knock the Switch because I love it so much, but I don't know how it could handle all that and do that. But even if it just had ad hoc play, that'd be something else for it there.
How many monsters are there? And are there multiple of the same monsters that exist, or like when you kill the T-Rex, the T-Rex
Oh no. There's it's an unlimited pile of monsters.
Okay.
Because what the game really is about, when you talk about grinding, right, is you play through all the story missions, sure, but then it unlocks the hunts for the monsters you've done, and you can go do those, turn those back in. You're killing when you beat a monster. There's the celebratory music and cool camera sweep, and then it stops, and it's usually 60 seconds of run up to the monster and carve them up because you need their bones and their skin and all this other stuff to go back to make armor, to upgrade your weapons, to make these new things. So it is. I'm trying to think of.
I hope that's a really gruesome like trauma center.
No,
style,
you wish.
it does look a little creepy when there's three people just kind of.
Yeah, just
And
stabbing.
what's the cat
thing.
doing during? Is he just kind
Just
of
eating.
Running around doing its
Filling his
thing.
belly.
Just being a cat. Yeah.
Okay.
But
I'm
yeah.
really interested.
Wait, so how
in
many
the
monsters
cats.
are there?
I don't know.
Unique. Well, okay.
That's the thing. Is
But is it like 10 or is it like 100?
It's.
No,
I mean,
we're
maybe
in
151.
terms
We're like
of
two
how
worlds.
big this game is. We are that far into
Okay.
it, and I've. Yeah, I don't know how you feel anymore, but like once we left the hey, I'm doing like real games coverage. If a game interests me, I try to turn off about it for the most part. And so like I'm having such a great time of me and Kevin playing, and then like last night we ran into this like fucking flying squirrel snake creature that was made of electricity, and I'm like, this is fucking rad. Of like, I didn't.
It was so hard to beat.
It was hard to beat, but it was awesome
Did
because
you do it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, hell yeah, I did it. Come
Hell
on,
yeah,
now.
you did.
Come on,
Good.
now.
Good job, Ken.
And so I don't want I don't know any of the like hardcore stats on it or that stuff.
yeah.
And again, like I'm not a hardcore Monster Hunter player. I have
You're just having
experience
fun
from
with
back
it.
in the day.
It's
but-
cool too. I imagine playing it for. Well, I don't know. I guess you did play it on PSP, but I know some of the monsters are like back, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I'm sure
yeah,
a lot of them are new to you.
Yeah, exactly.
regardless,
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you see yourself playing this for more than 2 more weeks?
Hard to say.
Sounds like a job interview. Where do you see yourself
Yeah,
in 2
yeah,
weeks
yeah,
with this
yeah.
game?
I don't know. Yes, no. It really. My concern is just like, we are 10 hours in, and when we got it and it was like, oh, there's the Horizon pack as part of this, and I was like, oh, holy shit, what's that? And I looked into it, and you can get for your cat like the fucking Watcher face, and he looks like a Watcher. I'm like, I want that now, and it's like you can't get it till your hunter rank 6. You get that quest, and then I'm like. We'll cruise to that. Last night we finally got to hunter rank 4, and I'm just like, oh, and it's like,
But now you can't give up. Now you got to get
well,
there.
no. I mean that it's a game that this is. I'm trying to think of the last game. I don't even know if Destiny was like this, because I guess Destiny I got to binge. Right now, my life is not allowing me to binge this game, which is giving me such a strong pull of just like, fucking call in sick. Don't come, you know what I mean? Like, we need to just fucking...
He literally said that. He's like, next week, let's just
we need
call
to
in
fucking
sick.
figure this out and make content out of it or something, because I need a weekend straight to play it, because I just want to play it, because it's annoying not knowing stuff. And it's like, Kevin and I were fighting the monsters, and this might have been in PSP, but I don't think it was, but maybe it was, and I just don't remember it. But like, we were on an elevated plane, right? And like, the monster was below us, and I made a move, and I jumped down onto the back of the monster, and he started, and I'm like, fuck, and it's like, triangle, 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 and like, you're like, and I was like, I didn't know this was here. So it's like, right now, 10 hours in, I still haven't even gone, I'm on the subreddit, and I'm like, glancing at it here and there. I still haven't gone into let's watch a YouTube video about how you're supposed to do this, because I know we are fighting like Neanderthals. Like I was telling,
I'm trying to dip and dodge as much as possible.
I have a friend from back in the day who works at
again.
Capcom, who's a huge Monster Hunter fan, and she's been talking to me as it was leading up to it, and she's like, we should play sometime. You know, I'm like, she's like, I'm just running around helping people, and I'm like, I'm too embarrassed by how bad Kevin and I are. Not that we're bad, but like we just don't.
I'm bad. I know I'm bad.
No,
You
Kevin.
don't know what you don't know.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm like, I just want to get my feet under me, and I don't want to be Sherpa through this. I love the idea that the game is to a point that Kevin and I can just do this. I mean, but I just want to get a day where it's like, all right, cool. I've set up my private world. Here's the code and here's the password. Just come join us and do your own thing. Because again, it's not like they're forced on you. I'm going to have people running up to me. You don't even see each other when you're in the world, like the hub world. You just have to post quests and see what's going on.
So with Kevin, with you guys, how you're playing, you said you both just hit level 4 or whatever.
Yeah.
If you were to go on vacation or whatever, and Kevin keeps playing and gets up to level 7, would that like totally not be fun to play together anymore? Or
I mean, I don't know when
the monsters scale to whoever's in there. So when you're playing solo, they're perfect for you. When you're playing with other people, it'll scale the
like
difficulty.
matchmaking away.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool.
So and at that point, I wouldn't care, because like again, Kevin and I, we're Legion of Doom over here. You know what I mean? We're bringing monsters to their knees. So if that was the case, where that would actually help us out in a lot of ways, because Kevin would see all the cutscenes, and I'd be like, I'm fighting this guy, and like we're in PS and party chat. Like last night, it was me, Kevin, and Jen in party chat, and she was way behind us, still trying to unlock the stuff to where she could play with us. So we were just chatting up about whatever, and he was off on a mission, I was off on a mission, and then for me to get to, all right, here's the monster, come help me, he'd be able to jump in and go do it. And I think that's where you'll see when we start streaming it, or when I do start putting out my code on Twitter, of just like, come on in and post your quest, and if I want to, I'll jump in there because I need to go get this.
Can you draw people in live to like an encounter?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Well, if the encounter's going and you're open, or you've invited them, you can jump in.
Cool.
Yeah.
that's cool.
Yeah.
you can have it open, and there's an ID that you can just punch in.
Yeah. He's talking about, though, if they joined our world and we were already off on a hunt.
Yeah.
Got it.
But yeah, our quest
they
would
can
still be
jump on
there
the
open
fly,
as long as we didn't have all 4 people.
Cool.
How long do you think you're gonna play, Kev?
I don't know, man. I could see this going like I'm enjoying it on a level I did not expect, and so I'm very curious how much like time we'll put in this, because I mean I still definitely want to play PUBG, and I want to try to get some like PUBG going this weekend, but I have a feeling it's gonna be all Monster Hunter.
My thought process on it would be this: is that I love it. I'm super committed. I'm interested to see where it goes. And just like the Monster Hunters before it, right? And what you're seeing when I look at Grimecraft's story, or anybody else putting up their photos, is this story of Monster Hunter is your personal journey. And when you got those pants, when you upgraded your greaves, when you know what I mean? And so I think eventually it might get to, I'm not ready to quit Kinda Funny to go play Monster Hunter all the time, but it'll get to where Kevin and I do a match of PUBG, and it's like, man, I don't want to do another thing of that, but I know you want to go grind some whatever, but I'm this close to this thing, I want to do that. Like, there's going to be a day where I'm like, in my perfect world, Nick, I'm always like, I should just have it running on my PS4 here and just go get some mushrooms here and there and do like the little side questy shit, and it's just, we're too busy here even for that. But I feel like that'll be it, where it's like we play for a while and it's like, all right, you want to go knock off some stuff or jump in, or here's this new content or these new costumes or something to go get.
I'm glad you guys like it.
Real quick, let me just give shout outs, because like there's something I experienced in the game that I've seen as a GIF in Zelda Breath of the Wild, where it was like, oh look, you're just walking up to this thing and there's 2 like giant monsters that are just fighting.
Yeah.
And like we've actually experienced that. Like I never experienced that in Zelda. Like I've never walked in and like seen a giant rock golem thing fighting some other monster. But with Monster Hunter, it's happened multiple times where it's just like we'll be in an area where a fucking giant dragon comes out and just swoops on him.
That's pretty cool.
It's
Yeah,
amazing.
turf wars,
It
they
makes
call
the
them.
world feel so real.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like there's so much happening on the map. There's Monster Hunter is such a big part of it. And similar to Breath of the Wild, but I mean, I think no offense to Breath of the Wild, a way greater scope and detail is crafting, and so it is like the what is it? I want to say expedition. I don't know why I can't remember.
You're just an exhibitionist.
Like the bar?
Like the car.
Oh, the Ford Expedition. Expedition.
Exposition.
When you go out on these fucking free missions you can do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It literally is, they just drop you on the map and they're like, you're here for as long as you want. There is no time limit and you have like your side quest log of things to hunt or whatever, gather. And so it could be that like, and like they added in this one the wish list function. So it's like, cool, I want to upgrade my swords to this, but I'm short of these things. I can add it to the wish list. And so when I'm running around expedition mode, I can see what quests I have available, things to kill, and then that as well. And so it can be, cool, I'm just gathering honey because I want to make more potions, or I'm going to go out and hunt this very specific type of creature because I need more bones or skins or hide or whatever. It's great. Monster Hunter's awesome.
Pretty cool. Let us know in the comments what you're thinking.
Come on and
about
let the
this
hunt be the
there,
hunted.
Monster Hunter. I want to talk about Shadow of the Colossus, the
Yeah.
remake on the PlayStation 4. So
wanna hear about it.
you have not played it yet.
I've not.
Is it killing you?
No, actually, I'm like, I don't know. My emotions about it have been sort of up and down over time. I mean, largely, I'm just really excited that a lot more people get to play it, especially for the first time. Greg.
Yeah.
Not from total scratch.
But
it
I
sounds
mean,
like you hadn't played
good
much
enough.
of it before.
Like, right,
yeah.
I don't think I ever got past the second
Right.
Colossus.
So I'm really excited for that. I think the PS3 remaster is incredible, and I think that's like the sort of best version of that the game could have been. So I felt sort of conflicted seeing it, and I was like, oh, it's like a pretty big change. I don't know if that's what the game needs, but if that's what it takes to get it in a lot more people's hands. And now that I've seen more and more of it and just like watched a review this morning, I was like, okay, it does look really stunning.
Yep.
And yeah, now I'm just like super curious.
My review of the game, simply, is this is
Stop.
the definitive version. Oh, you're right.
Hey, friends at the FTC, PlayStation sent us this game for review. We didn't buy it ourselves. They sent it to us for review. No promises. It's not an ad thing. Don't worry. Kevin, we need that disclaimer up here, too. This is our, fucking PlayStation. Couldn't you help us out before you left? We're in the influencer bucket instead of the press bucket now, so we got to say this stuff all the time.
Yes. So yeah, they sent us the game. Shadow of the Colossus remake on PlayStation 4 is the definitive version of one of the best games of all time.
Cool. That's great to hear.
From beginning to end,
Yeah.
was once again enthralled by such an amazing world, such a different experience for what video games have shown us. And man, it is so fantastic. Still has issues. Still has a lot of the same issues that the other game had. I haven't beat Shadow of the Colossus since it first came out in 2005.
Oh, wow. Cool.
I bought the PS3 collection,
Yeah.
but I beat Ico, whatever you want to call
And
it.
you can beat it in like a sitting.
But I'd never beat it before on PS2, so I beat that, and then I booted up Shadow, and I was like, cool, it's Shadow, but I was like, I'm not going to replay this right now. And even when they announced it at E3, I was kind of like, I don't know that I need to go back to the game. It's, it's very special to me, but whatever. But just like with how everything's been working out, like early in the year, there wasn't any game I was looking forward to. Monster Hunter doesn't speak to me. I was like, I'm kind of itching. The more videos I saw, the more I was like, you know what? They got me because it is beautiful. And I played it on PS4 Pro, and there's two modes in PS4 Pro that you can use. There's cinematic mode and I wrote it down. Performance mode. So performance is 60 frames per second, but it's at 60 frames per second, but it's at 30. Wait, sorry, what?
What?
Performance
1080?
mode is 60 frames per second, but it's 1080.
Gotcha.
Right. But
Or 30 at
cinematic
4K, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
cinematic mode is 30 at 4K, which is really it's 1440p, but like super sampled up to 4K.
You know what I mean?
So it's like it's not like true 4K.
Nice.
It doesn't
You're
matter.
kidding.
It's fucking beautiful.
So what did you play it on?
It is. So that's the thing is I jump between the two. Like
Okay.
I feel maybe like I'd say I probably played half the game at performance, half the game at cinematic, and I was just trying to figure out the difference. At the end of the day, I definitely preferred the performance mode, the 60 frames per second. It made the monsters just feel the Colossi feel so much more like real, and like seeing the fur and seeing the way they move and the animations really added. I think that's one of the things that this game did so right is they nailed the animations. Him jumping on aggro just looks so much better than it used to. And when you do the thing where you stand on the horse and you can like shoot bows and arrows, it's it looks real. It looks cool, and it totally fits. And the biggest improvement to me is the HDR. HDR on PS4 or PS4 Pro is stunning. And a lot of people have been asking me what game is the best to show off HDR. And I used to say Horizon. I used to say Ratchet and Clank. Those are both beautiful. This is the game.
Wow.
I mean, it's in the name, Shadow, right? Like this game uses shadows so well, and there's so much shadows and there's so much bright, almost like blown out. Like it looks kind of like that right there, where it's just this blown out light, and seeing the difference, seeing light go through the
blades of grass
blades of grass and between the leaves and forests and stuff, and the lighting in the game is unbelievable, and the HDR, just looking at it, there's so many times I would stop and just be like,
I saw the photo mode looks pretty ridiculous too.
And the photo mode with all the filters.
And there's also, I guess, a few filters you can actually play. You can use like turn on while you're playing.
Yep. So you can just switch between a bunch of filters, and it's not the type of filters that are kind of like groan worthy, where it's like, this just looks like some Instagram bullshit. Why would you want to fuck your game like that? They decided to go with a different look overall for the game, as I'm sure that you're aware just watching it.
Sure.
It's a little less warm than it used to be, but there was a warm filter that makes it look like it used to, and I appreciate that. So graphically, it is one of the most impressive looking games I've ever seen. Having said that, it's not perfect. A thing that really bothered me, and the reason that I was switching between the two modes, is the amount of pop-in is ridiculous. And I'm not seeing anyone in other reviews talking about this, but no matter what field you're in, it looks like the grass is constantly just growing in front of you. And I was in cinematic mode for a while, and I was like, oh, maybe it's just because it's 4K and it can't really handle it. Then I moved over to performance, and it was there as well. And I was like, it's kind of upsetting, because that's such a expected thing for me, where it's like when you're trying to make everything look so good, like it stood out a lot.
I mean, that is the original does have that, and the PS3 one has that. So I wonder, I don't know the process behind this one and sort of what Blue Point started with from scratch versus like working on the existing code. But maybe that's something that was like not worth the trouble to revisit. I don't know.
From my understanding, it is total from the ground up. Their code. They made it. It's not from the original. It is them trying to remake exactly what that was. It's similar to the Crash Bandicoot Insane trilogy that came out last year, where it is as faithful as possible to the original, but it's not actually from the original.
Sure.
And you can tell, and like it feels exactly like the other game did. There's modern controls, and then there's
How are the modern
original controls. The modern controls, not perfect. And that's the thing, is like, it's a weird struggle where I feel like I'm sounding negative about this game based on the
you love it.
The
you just said it was the best thing.
I love it, and it is one of the best games of all time, and this is the definitive version for sure. However, the idea of modernized controls excited me, because while I never really had an issue playing in 2005 on a PlayStation 2, because that's how games were then. Playing the idea of when I booted up on PS3, it felt outdated then, and it felt like the amount of times you have to like hold the thing up, and just you got kind of claw-like on the DualShock 2. And I was like, okay, cool, they're gonna modernize this, and the way that they did, it's definitely better, but it still doesn't fix a lot of the issues that I had. A lot of people complain about the camera. Camera never got in my way. The camera, I feel, is great for making the fights feel like a struggle. Like, and it's not like an excuse. That's part of it, right? But I couldn't help but compare the game to Breath of the Wild, playing it, having just played Breath of the Wild, and it. On one hand, it's such a compliment to Shadow of the Colossus, where I'm like, holy crap! In 2005, an experience like this existed. That on PlayStation 2, and seeing this game, it looks like you remember the PS2 game looking. That's always the best compliment you can give a remake. But I was shocked playing it, where Breath of the Wild is one of my favorite games of all time, blew me away. But when I was first playing, I was like, there's been nothing like this ever. And now replaying this, I'm like, yes, there has. There actually has, especially when it comes to the climbing, like just climbing the Colossus and all this, and the stamina system and all that.
And it's interesting to see that comparison too, and to think about a lot of people, things that people praised for Breath of the Wild for are things that were like really Shadow of the Colossus influences, but it's easy not to think about it, because it is weird that Shadow went down the sort of one route in a lot of ways, which I talk about in my book, that not a lot of other games went down. It's sort of on this weird branch of gaming history that like Eco was super influential in like myriad ways you could easily obviously point to with the companions and games. And but Shadow sort of exists over here that eventually came around and had some influences in things like Zelda, but otherwise was sort of this weird outlier for a long time. So it's great to see it have this status now, and I assume the modernized controls are sort of more accessible
they're definitely
So what
more
are the big
accessible.
changes?
With the controls?
Yeah.
It's
And I know it's hard because
it's hard because I'm trying to remember like how it all.
Well, I imagine
they flipped the X and the triangle.
Triangle,
Right.
great. Okay.
Yeah, so that's good.
You jumped with triangle by default in the original.
Yeah, now you jump with X. R2 is to grip and climb, which I think that was original as well. Which was really fun jumping between this and Celeste because both are the same thing. That's grip. That's good for me. But yeah, I mean, there's not too many changes to it, and I think that
a big part of the controls, for me, missing Shadow, I think it was the fact that when I got it on PS2, I don't think in buying it sight unseen, it was like, oh, EGM liked it, so of course I'll pick it up or whatever. I think I expected something different, or I didn't understand what I was getting into. Whereas, I know people said this Last Guardian, especially when I didn't like Last Guardian, but the struggle of climbing and making it difficult is a key component of the game, right?
I mean, that's why it's interesting to talk about some of the stuff of the modernized controls and all that, because a lot of it, I think, the design top to bottom is very intentional, for better or worse, and they want their, Ueda-san wants his games to feel a specific way, I think, and they do things where they often prioritize animation over responsiveness, and I think, and I'm sort of a defender of the controls a lot, and I do talk about it in the book and stuff too, but I think a lot of people react adversely to it because it just doesn't feel like other games that they're used to. So to me, modernizing is making it feel like other stuff you play.
Yeah.
Which again, if
but it doesn't though, and that's the thing is these modern controls, they don't. These modern controls
and
are
probably
just
because it was never made to be that.
And it's, to me, the most interesting thing about the controls is it is easy to complain about it, and it's easy to be like, well, this doesn't feel like Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild controls better. If this game controlled like Breath of the Wild, there'd be no game. That's that you can't have the controls.
Sure.
When I've talked about that and admitted that it was an unfair thing by me, but it's just what turned me off to it at the time. I always say though, I didn't want them to come back and make it perfect and make it the way I think it should play, because I feel like we'd get into Twin Snakes territory. And remember, because when we added
the camera, adding first person,
it's like, oh great, you broke the ninja fight.
Right.
Yeah.
Gray Fox shows up, you're like bam, bam, bam.
And also
right,
the Vulcan Raven fight in the tank.
Yeah.
It's just like, boom, this is so easy where it was so difficult.
Yeah.
And yeah, it would be like that. And it's very different than Last Guardian. I liked Last Guardian a lot, but I would liken that more to Eco than to Shadow of the Colossus. And I feel like it was all the frustrating parts of Shadow of the Colossus with Trico and how he moved.
Sure.
And I did have camera issues in that game. And you're right, struggling controls, it was never fun. But that's because that was a struggle to get on the thing and get them to do what you wanted to do. Whereas the Colossus, it's a struggle because you're fighting them.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's inherently different. And yeah, it's funny because the modernized controls, it's just taking the controls the original game had and just fixing things that are obviously weird, like jumping with triangle. But otherwise, they're the same controls.
So which was your favorite? I gotta know. What was your favorite Colossus?
So that's the thing. I can tell you my least favorite.
Okay.
It's the same as it used to be, which is the two and the smaller, the tiny ones, right? It's all the problems that existed before still do, where the smaller colossi are way too hard to get onto and stay onto and to find their points. And if they knock you down, you're fucked. Because the moment they hit
bludgeon you into a corner.
They bludgeon you in a corner, and the animation is so long for you getting up that by the time you get up, they can knock you down again. So you kind of at that point aren't fighting against the Colossus, you're fighting against the camera there and trying to get into a place that he just can't hit you. So I didn't like those at all. But any of the flying ones are just that's where this game, the spectacle of each of these fights, it is unlike anything I've experienced in a video game. And when you get on one of these Colossus and it's fucking taking off and flying, and you feel like I can't fall off this thing, and it's like you start to relate to the character and the struggle becomes so real. Oh man, the bird-like one, and then the sandworm, sandworm is so awesome.
Yeah.
Another one of my least favorites would be the final one. Not too big a fan. The
approach or the climb?
The scope is great, but the final parts of where you're fighting it, that was one of the only times I'm like, this is just frustrating to me. I'm not enjoying this. But I will say that the getting from Colossus to Colossus was my least favorite part of the game, where since I've done it before and I was like familiar with the world,
Right.
it was just kind of a chore where I'm like just tapping the button to make aggro go faster. And like I reach top speed. I'm like, I just want to go faster than this.
Right.
Like, just get me where I need to go.
For me, weirdly, obviously, I have a unique relationship to this game, but that's one of the things I'm most interested in is just exploring and seeing every little thing that's been changed. Because even like the little little shady glen of trees that I see in like some previews and stuff, like looks very different now, and just little different pieces of architecture look different. And I know they have added some stuff that I saw like some articles on about
Easter
like, there's some
eggs and fun
Last
little
Guardian
things.
Easter egg and stuff. So
You're gonna love it. I'm so excited for you to play it because I don't know Shadow of the Colossus in that way.
I've been all the way down to the bottom of this rabbit hole, and it goes like so deep of like little fan theories and whatever. So I'm really curious to see which of those they sort of like either pay
Expanded
homage
on
to
and
or
went through.
and there's lots of leftover bits, obviously, from the infamously like cut Colossi, right? That people have discovered. So I'm curious if that stuff is that still in there. I'm really curious about that.
Yeah. No, I don't know any of that stuff, but it's
As the super fan, how does that start? Like, how did you get, and I know this isn't specifically about your review, but I mean, in the realm of Shadow, like, how do you get to writing a Shadow of the Colossus book? Like, had you, like, from a release, were you, like, all about this game?
Yeah, from release. So I was working at EB Games at the time, and I think I helped get like the most pre-orders in our district because my manager Greg and I were just like such huge fans of it, and we loved Eco, and we just loved the game and were super excited for it. And like you, I think I saw them praising it in EGM or whatever, and actually I remember the very first time reading about it, and I was like, it described it as the levels are like creatures you can climb, and I was like, what? That's so incredible. So from moment one, I was excited about it, and then it really, as soon as I played it, I was like, okay, this is my favorite game ever. It's just one of my favorite things ever too, like just pieces of art, like singular influential things in my life, and it's always been number one by that great margin. And so I ended up being a Kickstarter backer of the Boss Fight book series, which has a bunch of great other books too. Splunky is the other one I'd strongly recommend, which is written by the developer. So anyway, I was a Kickstarter backer, and there's always each season of books. There's a fan voted book as well and I voted for Shadow of the Colossus. I was like, oh, I'd love to see a Shadow book. And then I saw on a backer update they were looking for writers for it, and I was like, this is the role I was born to play. So I ended up talking with Gabe, who runs the series, and it all worked out. It was sort of weird doing it like because I was working for Sony at the time. Like as this is like a non-official book, this is like a fan thing separately that took some.
Were they okay with
doing?
it?
But yeah, I mean, eventually they were very cool and supportive.
What is the book about? Because I know a lot of the boss fight books kind of aren't necessarily about the game. Some of them are more about people's experience with the game and things like that.
Sure. No, this really is sort of about the game, and I think it's. I approached it as sort of like a travelogue, so I think it's a fun like companion guide in a way to. I would encourage if anyone ends up reading it to like play a Colossus, then read the chapter about it because I divided it up so there is one chapter per. Colossus.
Dude, I need to get on this. That
I'd
sounds
love to hear
awesome.
what you think about it.
Because it's one of those games where you don't really know what's going on.
Sure,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
And it's definitely one of those things where as soon as I replayed it now, I was like, I'm going to go up on Wikipedia and kind of read some things because I'm like, I don't really know what's happening.
And that's stuff I try to dig into, like why the different fights are interesting, and then talk about different aspects of the game along the way when they sort of like rear their heads. And the other part is just talking to a whole ton of developers who, from like Neil Druckmann to Joseph Ayers and like everybody who was really influenced by the game. So there's a whole ton of chats and quotes with other developers as well, sort of threaded throughout that about different elements of it. Because again, it's like weirdly, like I said, Eco is like has its very obvious influences. Shadow, I think, was very influential as well, but in like a different weird way.
What's your favorite Colossus?
Well, I feel like I need to play the new one now to like reevaluate, but it's just the third one on the top of the like pedestal and the Gettys in the on the island was just. I love that one. But now it's like I've played through the game so many times and like dissected it so much that it's like I love them each in different ways.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah.
Another way that they did enhance the controls that makes the game a lot better is when you're on aggro and you're going in tight corridors and like you're on like mountain cliffs and stuff. The auto control of just kind of you just like need to just keep
Press
it going,
forward,
press forward, and it will do the curves for you and do all that. Much better than
that's cool.
than
Yeah,
it
because
used
that
to
was
be.
always there, but I'm imagining now they sort of smoothed out the
It's
geometry
much,
of the level so
it's
it
much
can
smoother,
pathfind a little
because
better.
before there was a problem. I experienced this a lot in the PS2 one where, like, if the horse hit a little rock, it would come full stop.
Right.
And you'd have to awkwardly kind of like tank control it to turn around and then keep going. And it was frustrating.
There's also some really interesting things, again, just talking about the stuff that, like, weird things people find in the game. Like, there's this one, like, giant eagle in the game that lives in this huge weird tree that's in a very specific place. And that is the only eagle in the game that you can, like, hold on to and, like, you won't fall off of it and you just keep flying with that eagle. So, like, is that eagle still in this version? I would like to think so, but I don't know. So there's weird things like that that I only know about because, again, I went down this rabbit hole that is it still there? I don't know.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Curious.
So, Greg, are you going to give this game another
100%,
shot?
100%.
Yeah, okay.
If we got codes from this from Sony, hey FTC, I thought we were going to get it right before I went to Canada because we got an email like the Monday before and I left on Saturday. I was like, oh, fuck, this will be perfect. And like on Thursday, I emailed the ROM and I was just like, when are these coming? He's like, Monday. I'm like, fucking hell. And so like it happened, and then when I came back, Monster Hunter was happening. I'm way more jazzed for Monster Hunter in the same, but it's just because that's a different experience, right? Of like when Kevin can't play or when we wind down, jump into that, or like I'm gonna take my PlayStation with me on this trip if the hotel internet sucks. That, but then again, Celeste and then a million other games.
I really wonder how you're gonna feel going back and forth between that and Monster Hunter, just with the basic sort of high level concept of controls.
Hey man,
maybe being
I'm gonna
similar.
be Mr. Japanese gamer all of a sudden. You know what I mean? Look at me.
Well, the cool thing too is this game does not last long, and I think that's definitely to its benefit.
How long did it take you?
Fuck, I want to say 6 hours.
But I bet that's because you played it before.
Sure.
Like, that's pretty quick.
The thing is, I knew where I was going.
I'd guess probably twice that for your first.
Yeah.
game. I would think.
but
Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. It's well, there we go.
Finally, I was hoping it would come up during this.
Nice.
Jeez.
Thank you.
But yeah, no, it's I love that Colossus too, man. God.
Yeah. Wonderful.
Yeah. But it's a beautiful game. It is such a great journey. I love how different it is from other video games. And like you were saying that, Eco did influence a lot of things, and this one kind of weirdly didn't in a lot of ways until I'd say recently Breath of the Wild. But it's so weird how I feel like a lot of things that we talk about this game sound like bad things, but absolutely aren't. It's like it's such an open world, and there's no bad guys in it. Like,
well, think about pre Breath of the Wild too. It's like what other sort of AAA games give you room to breathe like that and just sort of be alone in the middle of nowhere with nothing else to do, very intentionally.
Yeah, and it's like that's the beautiful thing about it is there's not just random little grunt enemies around. Like there are the 16 Colossi, they're out there, and then it's you and some wildlife, and that's it. And it just creates such a different experience going in. And then just the way that they handle, without spoiling anything, when you beat each one, things happen. And it gets progressively more and more like, wait a minute, what's going on? And that's the drive to want to get to the next thing, to figure out what is really going on is so interesting. And like just the way that it handles like, are you a good guy? Are you a bad guy? Like, do you even know? It's like, wow, this is a beautiful game.
Yeah, I was going to say that to Greg too. I'd say, and this is when I've talked to some people who sort of gave up midway through Last Guardian. I'm like, just finish it because where the story goes really validates so much of like what you've done so far. And I think just the ending is really interesting and the whole thing. And there's not much story, of course, but there's a few like key cutscenes, and I think it's really interesting, and especially some of those elements of like how you feel about killing them and how that changes over the course of the game is great. And then having a sense a little bit of how it may or may not tie into the other games too, which is of course its own interesting
that's
question.
A whole other very cool thing. And replaying this made me like Last Guardian even less than I did, but that's just because I love this game so much, and Blue Point knocked it out of the park. Like I was reading on Reset Era a thread of people talking about what they want Blue Point to do next, if it's just continue doing more remakes, or is it time to finally just let them make something new again. I think the last time they did was early PS3. And I'm like, just keep doing remakes. Like they just do them so well. Like looking at the Uncharted collection, like they knocked that out of the park.
Metal Gear.
This type of like ground up, come on, let's go. That'd be fantastic.
Well, I mean, they did the collection. Oh, sorry, that's my rap.
Oh, did they?
Yeah. Yeah, they had done the Legacy collection or whatever they called it.
Did they also do God of War and all those? God, it makes sense. Yeah, those are great.
Yeah.
But no, this is different. Like this is somehow makes it look like a PS4 game. Like it doesn't look like a remake of an old game. Like if people didn't know it was a remake, playing this, they'd be like, oh shit, cool.
And I'm really curious how people are going to respond to it as like a new game for those people who don't really know its history. It's like if you walk in a store and you pick up this thing and it's like, oh, cool, giant creatures.
Yeah, right.
$40 too, though. So it's like that's the thing. It's like it is a budget price, and that's great. I think it's more than worth it. If you're interested at all, I'd highly recommend picking it up. And again, let me know what you think about Shadow of the Colossus. Kev, are you going to play this one?
Yeah.
Good. I think you're going to like it.
I'm excited.
I think you're going to like it a lot.
I always wanted to play it.
Yeah.
And while you're there, go to bossfightbooks.com and enter the code AGRO for 15% off of my book for,
Nice.
I don't know, a little while.
Yeah, shout out to my wife, Genevieve Saint-Onge Miller, whose book that is, because she's a huge Shadow fan. And we were, she's like, oh, I picked it up. I'm like, I know that guy. Yeah, buy that.
I didn't know that. That's awesome. Very cool. I saw it recently at Green Apple Books.
Oh, yeah.
That's where I bought it.
Oh, yeah?
I did a reading from it there a little while ago.
Wow.
For the Splunky book launch party, yeah. It's
Man.
fun. Yeah,
What a
seeing it
world
in
we live in.
stores is like a total thrill.
Oh, that must be cool.
Yeah. Oh, Tim's drinking LaCroix.
You know, I want to talk about Celeste, Greg. But before we do that,
I knew something was going to happen here. Oh, you're
This-
going to do an ad read?
Yeah.
I'm going to I'm going to get a beer. You want more
Go
water?
for it.
Please, thank you.
You want a beer? Now?
I know water's
Can I
good,
get another
thanks.
one of these guys?
Sure.
Thank you. This episode's brought to you by Sherry's Berries. Sherry's Berries and Pro Flowers have teamed up to help you really impress your Valentine this year with the perfectly paired collection. Go ahead and think inside the box this Valentine's Day. I love that. That was good. That was real good. This really is a one-of-a-kind gift. Your dipped strawberries and flowers will arrive together in a beautiful, specially designed box that'll keep your berries cold and your flowers fresh, guaranteed. How you like them berries, Kev? Because I know you ate a lot of them berries.
I was just in Chicago. Let me tell you, my berries were very cold.
Yeah, you have them cold berries. I got this for Gia. She loves the flowers. A lot of beautiful roses. Our house is smelling real nice right now. Right now, you guys can save 20% on any one of the perfectly paired combinations or any other gift over $29 with the promo code KFGames. Hurry and order today. Valentine's Day is next week. There's only one way to get 20% off perfectly paired gift over $29, and that is to go to berries.com. That's BERRIES.com today and enter code KFGames at checkout. That's berries.com. Code KFGames. And the second sponsor is good old Blue Apron. Blue Apron is the leading meal kit delivery service in the U.S. And while many people know what we do, many people don't know but the types of meals you can eat when you cook with Blue Apron. Like strip steaks with potatoes and spicy maple collard greens. That sounds like a Greg Miller special if I ever heard one. A steakhouse-inspired favorite with a delicious twist, chili-infused maple syrup. With incredible ingredients and chef-designed recipes, Blue Apron lets you see what the power of food can do. There's 3 different meal plans that you can do. It's the 2-person meal plan that serves 2 people. Obviously, you get to choose from 8 new recipes per week with a choice to receive either 2 or 3 recipes any week. There's the family meal plan that serves 4 people. You get to choose 4 recipes per week with the choice to receive 2, 3, or 4. And then finally, there's the wine plan where you get 6 bottles of wine from renowned winemakers delivered monthly. Greg and Jen have been partaking in that, and they have been loving it. You get these cute little wine bottles. Taste them, a little taste test.
Just wine for dinner.
Yeah, why not, dude? Why not? You know what I mean? Yeah, it's not even sponsorship. They pay for it. They pay for their own Blue Apron wine. You liking it, Greg?
What?
The Blue Apron wine?
Yeah.
He does.
Do we get sponsored by Blue Apron Wine now?
Well, it's the whole thing.
Oh, just Blue
Blue
Apron.
Apron in general. Blue Apron is treating Kind of Funny Gamescast listeners to $30 off your first order if you visit blueapron.com/Gamescast. So check out this week's menu and get your $30 off at blueapron.com/Gamescast. Blue Apron.
A better way to cook. Now, Kevin just handed me his water glass when I was going to get my beer and did this. And I came back with more water for me. And I was like, you did not.
Yeah.
You said, I love you. Cool, Greg. Bring Kevin a Pilsner.
No, it's fine.
Get baby his bottle, Cool Greg. Well, I went back there. Andy Cortez just laying on the couch. What are we paying this kid for?
I don't know, man. Gundams.
I know. He's on his phone. He's probably looking at a Gundam.
Yeah.
Honestly, he's been working on a Gundam shirt for fucking months.
Celeste, ladies and gentlemen.
Game of the year.
Game of the year. Game of the motherfucking year, man. If you're not playing Celeste, get off your ass. Get it. It is
Great point.
$20,
Yeah.
right? $20 on every system. Switch, PS4, Xbox One,
Obtainable
PC,
platinum if you want
Mac,
to.
you're saying?
It's gonna be hard.
I played it on Mac.
You play
I assume
it
it's
on
on Mac.
It's available everywhere, and it is so damn fantastic. I put a tweet out saying that it's only been 30 days into the year, but if this is not my game of the year at the end of the year, I'm going to be shocked because I don't know what could possibly take this thing down.
Spider-Man.
There's a lot, but man, Celeste is a very special game, and you worked on it. What did you do on it?
I did. So I was the script editor and contributing writer or something like that. Yeah, I mean, so after I left Oculus a few months ago, I sort of went to explore the world of what other stuff I can do and do some more creative work and do some more writing. And I saw Matt Thorson, the creator of Celeste, and along with a whole great team, and he did Towerfall as well, of course. He put out a blog post when the game was delayed till 2018.
Yeah.
What year is it?
What year is it?
And he mentioned there that he was writing the game, but I forget exactly what he said, but I sort of got the impression that like he was a little unsure because it was the first game. I mean, that he'd really put that much story into. And so I reached out like, hey, is this something I could help out with? I'd love to get involved. And he was like, oh, I didn't even think about you, but that actually makes a lot of sense. So he sent me a build, and I played through the first like chapter, and then he sent me the script, and I like gave him a bunch of feedback and tweaks and stuff, and he was into it, and then we just went from there. So I ended up just doing sort of some, just little editing, tuning, and tweaks, and changing this here and there, and writing a bit here and there, and just sort of help like fleshing out the story to help really tell the best version of what they wanted to tell.
So
and I think really the story is all me. And I think the story is fantastic.
The story is
it was before I showed up.
The writing is fantastic, and I think that like that is something that makes it so special because it's a 2D platformer.
Yep.
And in a world where grueling 2D platformers, retro style is nothing fresh and interesting, this game is. This game to me is up there with the Shovel Knights. A lot of people keep comparing it to Super Meat Boy, and that's apt in just in how difficult it is and the kind of like
try again
like room progression system. But in my opinion, like this takes it to a different level because 100%. Of the story and the characters and my boy
and
Theo.
Just the context, I think, too, generally. And again, I feel like my role was small enough that I feel like I can join in the praise in this game and not feel weird about it. But
we did such a great job making this game.
But I think what's great, is I think you care about like Madeline's journey, and I mean I love Meat Boy as well, but it's like you care about this like brutal level design. You don't really care about like rescuing Bandage Girl. I mean you do, but it's fun. But it's like in Celeste, it's like she's on this very personal journey to like climb this mountain just from this urge she has and meets other characters along the way who are really interesting and weird. And
like I was in everything you're saying is correct, and the game excels at every part of it. The art is fantastic. The story is fantastic. The writing is fantastic. The music is insane.
You can check it out on Bandcamp.
Yeah,
it's the whole soundtrack's available.
You got to. It's awesome.
Also nominated for an IGF award for the music. Or
well
for the sound.
Deserved. Well deserved. And the gameplay is so good. But I'm finding myself. It started off with like, okay, cool. Yeah, I get the loop here. I love the room progression because it is, as somebody who's not great at platformers, and obviously they're putting new mechanics in there, I found myself going for the strawberries, which are like you don't need to get, but are like, hey, feather in your cap if you do, because you respawn so quickly that the checkpoints are, it's every room. So it's like, I jump to a room and it's like, oh, well, I'll spend 10 minutes trying to get a strawberry. What the hell? Yeah. And then at the end, I noticed like in the hotel levels, last level I beat, I'm playing it only like on the go. It was very much like I was not getting frustrated because I was my ass handed to me by the end boss or whatever. But it was like, God, I just want to fucking beat this. Not to say I beat it, but because I want to know the end of his story. How are they going to wrap this up for him? What does it mean for her?
Yeah.
What's happening on the phone?
And you haven't even gotten to like that. It gets
so good. So how far are you now?
I'm just into
that's at the end of the third
chapter. Okay, and you obviously beat the game.
Yeah. So when I was working on it, I like played through it, but at the time the B-sides and stuff were still coming together. So purposefully where there like wasn't story, I was like, I'm not gonna play that. I'm gonna wait to give myself stuff to play at the end. So now as I'm going through, I'm getting every strawberry, and as soon as I unlock a B-side, I'm going and playing through that. Which I don't know if you've tried them at all.
I have my B-side. I've picked up my first B-side, but I haven't played it yet.
Okay. Yeah. It's interesting because they're it's essentially a brand new level in the same sort of world of that other level.
Okay.
But they're pretty brutal, and we were talking about it a bit earlier. It turns into more of like a puzzle game where it's like, all right, I need to actually really think about how to figure out this screen, just like the regular game, but only sort of exponential. And you'll be trying some route for like 100 deaths, and you're like, oh, wait a minute, I should just be doing this, and then solve it in like 5.
Boom. Yeah.
And then because you advance to the next screen a second later, like you're saying, it's like you respawn quickly.
Yeah.
Then it's like, all right, now there's a whole new brand new challenge that I immediately don't feel exhausted by the last one. I can just hop straight into this one.
Yeah. That's the thing is like you're dying over and over again, but I don't feel like I'm like, okay, that didn't work, but I know what I'm supposed to. Can I do it? Okay, I did that. And then it would be the thing of solving that first little part and then, died there because I didn't even think what was on that other side of the wall. All right, now I got to figure it. And like, I want to keep playing the game.
There's so much I have to say about this game that I feel sounds hyperbolic because it's too good to me. Like I love, not only is the story good, and we've seen a lot of games in recent years, especially on the indie side, try to deal with depression and anxiety and like character growth, like personal growth. And I feel like this game does it very well without being heavy-handed and without being kind of like cringeworthy. And in addition to that, makes the gameplay relate to the story that it has. Like it makes the moment-to-moment gameplay of a 2D platformer feel like It is right there, hand in hand, meaningful with the story and with the characters and with what's going on. And it's kind of like Shadow of the Colossus, where like you have these moments of like, why am I doing this? You know, like what's going on? And I love that. And I feel like when we talk about a lot of games, the easiest thing to do is compare it to other games. Like, oh, it's like this mixed with this, mixed with this. And this is one of those games where all of the games that I compare it to, it's like, oh, well, it's like the level design of Yoshi's Island mixed with the finding secrets of Donkey Kong Country 2, mixed with the difficulty of Super Meat Boy, mixed with the feeling of the jump being just right of any Super Mario Brothers game, mixed with the soundtrack of Shovel Knight. It's like an all-star list of the best parts of all these amazing games, and it works from top to bottom. It works, and I think the greatest compliment I can give it is I think this is the first game to totally nail difficulty and giving options to tone the difficulty down without insulting the player. The assist mode is amazing. If the game's too hard for you, there's just the level of granularity is ridiculous of what you can do to make it easier for yourself. And it doesn't slap you on the wrist. It's not like Super Mario where you get the little whatever the fuck it is.
I forgot what it was.
Every game has different things, but like you're invincible forever or whatever, and the game kind of makes fun of you for doing it. It's not like a baby mode.
It gave you a special hat in Super Mario, didn't it? What was it? I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
But it's different, and it's like it feels like it's like, hey man, everyone's different. Like that's kind of the point of the game.
I mean,
everyone has their own thing to do.
When you click on assist mode, right, to even find out what it is, there's just a heartfelt message from the developer who's just like, hey, or the team, I should say. But hey, the challenge of Celeste is critical to the story of Celeste. Like, we want you to struggle here, but we understand that's not for everybody. So we've included this. We'd urge you to only do this in your second playthrough, but if you want to use this now, by all means, we want this game to be accessible.
And last night I was telling my girlfriend she should play because I really do think she'd enjoy the story and just the adventure of it. She wouldn't be able to get through it. I mean, she plays games, but not like Twitch stuff.
Sure.
So I told her, like, yeah, just use the assist mode. You can tone it down. You can turn yourself invincible or slow down time or whatever.
Yeah, it's just fantastic, and I love that it never overstays its welcome, and I feel like the progression and the pacing of it is so fun. The respawns being as quick as they are, you never hit that point where you're just against a wall. You're like, fuck this, and because you're always on to the next thing. It's like, okay, cool, and there is that sense of progression, and I just love the every level has its own kind of gimmick that makes it feel like a different game, like I just mentioned earlier. Like there's certain moments I'm like, this is straight out of Yoshi's Island. This is some moments I'm like Donkey Kong, like going through that. And to get the B-side levels, which you were saying, which is a whole other game. It's very much like Zelda with the second quest, like going back and getting like this more difficult version of what you have. And I love that since each world introduces a gimmick, even on the B-sides, there's those gimmicks as well, being really put to the test.
And there's stuff you learn on the B-sides pretty early on. The basic controls, like, there's some pretty advanced techniques you can do right off the bat if you know what you're doing, but you won't really know, like chances are, until you play the B-side and then you're forced to use them, and you're like, oh, now I can go back to the main game and do these crazy super jumps I didn't even know about.
Yeah, and what's really cool about it is to unlock the B-sides, there's rooms you find that, in addition to just the strawberries being all over and those being kind of the challenges, there's other challenge rooms that are inspired by Super Mario Galaxy 2 with the music-based levels where to the beat of the music, different platforms will come up, and you have to go. When you get through that, you unlock the B-side. And I love that that's music-based because the B-side is a music reference. You get the cassette, and then each of the B-sides has music contributed by like iconic, awesome video game remix creators and people that are just known in the world of video game music. And each level has its own kind of just remix theme song and vibe to it that is totally music-based, that nothing to do with Celeste, the main game. And I'm like, it's the game that keeps on giving. It's like no matter what aspect you look at it, it's just the polish just through the roof.
There's also another layer too, which I don't know how much you know about that, of like beyond the B-sides. There's more, like, which I haven't tried any of that stuff yet, but
yeah, it's just there's so much there, and I love that, like I was saying, each world has its own gimmick, doesn't outstay its welcome, and as you keep going, I feel that the story elements are perfectly paced and they never get in the way. If you think about it, it's like story in a 2D platformer. It's like, oh, there must be a lot of cutscenes or a lot of text. And there's only one section in the game that has a lot of text, and it's meaningful. It's awesome, and it makes the rest of the game that much better. I am utterly in love with this game. The end of it is so powerful, so great, and I could not recommend it higher.
Awesome.
And
I can't wait to get playing more on the plane tomorrow.
And for what I'll say too, with my experience with it, I will say one of the best things I can say about the game is that it is like absolutely a total reflection of the team in like this amazing way. Like it's such a warm, collaborative, awesome team of folks who all have like come from different backgrounds and have different experience, and I think you really feel that in the game. It just feels like this very like warm thing made, like this little gift of like, here, enjoy this thing that we have like a lot of heart in. And
that is going to destroy you, but you're going to love yourself for it.
But yeah, it was awesome to like even see a little tiny taste of that for me. But yeah, it's right.
So you earlier before the show in the pre-show, you were talking about you were playing it with different controllers and things like that.
Yeah.
What's your experience with that?
Well, I was playing it with a DualShock 4 on my Mac while I was working on it, and now I'm playing through it again on Switch. I still feel like I prefer playing it on a DualShock 4, but like having it on Switch is nice on the go
Do you
too.
use the analog or the
I went back and
D-pad?
forth. I think I like tend to default to analog, but it was when I need to like be sure of something, have like some reliable direction, then I'll
And that's
hop back
something
to
for me
D-pad,
as a
which is tough on Switch because there's not much of a D-pad.
Exactly, and the analog's also not great for this type of stuff. The controls are so key, and it's like you can't fuck them up. Like you need to know exactly what you're doing, and I think this game does a great job of you look at the room and it starts as a puzzle, and then it just turns into the mechanics of getting from point A to B. So once you figure out what you need to do, then it just becomes about doing it.
Yeah.
And the doing it part can be very hard if the controls aren't perfect.
Yeah.
And I could never imagine playing a 2D platformer with an analog stick. Like, that's blasphemy. This game kind of requires that. And I switched back and forth depending on what I was doing. But when I played the last half of the game using the GameCube controller, with connected to the Switch with the
because that kid said that.
Because the kid said it.
Yeah.
Because the analog has the octagonal, just kind of like
That's
things,
interesting.
and it made it so much better.
That's cool.
And,
Yeah, it's based on like an 8-way dash, so.
Yeah, so that was really great, but.
Well, I'm sure a Pro Controller is also.
And I played half the time in handheld mode and half the time with the Pro
Okay.
Controller on the TV, and it's just like, I mean, no matter how you play this game, it's great. But there was many deaths I had where I'm like, thank you. I should not have died, and it was just a stupid.
Yeah, no, it
control
happened to
issue.
me all the time. When I was playing initially, I was on the plane playing it with the Joy-Cons, just in handheld mode, and I was like, "Wow, this is great." But even the rumble it was giving me, I was like, "That's too much." And so on the flight back, I busted out the Pro Controller, was sitting there at the airplane on the little thing going with that one.
Next game, The Impatient.
The Impatient, supermassive PlayStation VR. Heads up, FTC. Kevin put a note here. You're gonna have to put it again. PlayStation sent us this game for review. We didn't buy it, but we aren't paid by them because let me tell you, what a fucking disappointment.
No.
Yeah, Kevin kept walking in the room when I was playing it because it was when you guys went to LA for Funhouse, and I had gotten and I was like, oh, perfect. The afternoon off from like being on camera. I have the VR set up. I'm super stoked for this game. Put it on, went in, and it was just like, it's like for VR in particular, it's that critical moment when you know it's off rails of I'm in another world, whoa, and I'm like, wonder if any good emails have come in. Like, you know what I mean? I'm waiting on a response because it's just like it's not scary. It's boring. You move too slowly. I mean, like fidelity wise, it's fine. It's not like it's bad there. And
this is like the sort of spin-off of Until Dawn, right?
it's the prequel. You're in the sanatorium that they, is in Until Dawn. I think it's the 60s versus, present day Until Dawn. They do something at the end to try to tie it together, but it's just like,
How long is the experience?
I've seen a lot of people online say an hour and a half. I want to say it was 2 hours, a little bit more for me, but I think I did do. Eventually, Kevin,
you were checking emails.
Kevin
You had
came
your
in and
headset
I
on
did
your
pop it
forehead
off, and I'm like, I'm bored as shit, and I did check emails and did do stuff. I think I came in here and filmed some bump for something, so it wasn't like I was just going straight through it. But it was a slog. Eventually, you turn a corner where it's like, oh, okay, it's moving a bit more. There are like. On top of it being an easy platinum, I will play it again because there are butterfly moments. There's like 6 of them though. It's not like Until Dawn where it like really got crazy. But there are things of like, you get to the end. It's a game that. Thank you. Yes, thanks. Andy heard the call that. Tim
Thank you.
Just a taste of what's to come.
I do appreciate it.
Good man. Thanks, Andy. Thanks, Andy.
What is the gameplay? Because I actually don't know much about the game besides like the teasers that I've seen.
I mean, yeah, it's.
Is it like Until Dawn? Like
No,
I don't know.
God. Well,
I mean, is it the third?
no, it's first person.
I guess first person, but
you're
it's sort of action adventure.
You're a patient
like,
in the sanatorium, and you're trying to figure out what's going on. And so, the first part is you in your fucking room a long time with your roommate talking to her, Well, it was a her for me, and I don't know if that changes. I chose in the beginning to be a female. But then it's like, you pick up stuff and you flip it around, and then it takes you back to a memory. Because, like, it starts with you getting, like, electroshock. And I'm, like, trying to remember things and figure it all out. But then, like, things go off the rails. You know what I mean? And, like, at some point, I'm spoiling Impatient now. Like, there's a lockdown and you guys can't get out for a few days and all these different things happen, and then finally the door opens, but like you get separated from your roommate, and you finally get introduced to new characters and things start happening, and they start trying to finally weave this story of like, who are you and why are you here and what the fuck's happening, and this isn't I don't think a spoiler. Well, I don't want to spoil cast this. It wasn't great, but it did leave me enough questions that I do want to play it again, just to get, especially now that I know that it's super short and I know where to go and like skip a little bit faster. But I was like, I'm very pro PlayStation VR, right? I'm doing a PlayStation VR show, patreon.com/kindoffunnygames this month. And it's because stuff like Moss and stuff like Blood and Truth, where I've seen it and played it and been like, this is awesome. I had played the Impatient demo at the same time, and it was, all right, I'm in the room. There's one jump scare. Okay, this will be interesting. I like Supermassive. And like, it just doesn't come together. It's just a slog of playing through. There's a few jump scares. There's not that bad. I think they don't use enough things from Until Dawn that made Until Dawn interesting, where there is a moment of like, just one moment, I think, maybe two, of like, stand still. Remember how I get Until Dawn the first time that pops up, where you're like, oh fuck, don't move the controller. That's fucking crazy. This one pops up, don't move the headset. You're like, oh, okay. And then it's like, it's over. And it's just like, all right, cool. And then on to the next thing.
That's so sad because, I mean, obviously, Until Dawn's great. That in VR sounds amazing. And my favorite PSVR game is Until Dawn.
Rush of Blood.
Rush of Blood.
Yeah.
And this seemed like when we saw the trailer at E3, I want to say.
Yeah.
I was like, holy crap,
was a trailer
this
for sure.
sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
And
Well, I mean, you figure too.
Yeah,
well, sure, yeah.
But still, I mean, I loved.
It was super massive. It was VR.
Yeah, it was same
you know
people, and like that had enough scares that I'm like, cool.
And you figure for, the other side of the screen, for our expectations, it was in 2017 fucking Resident Evil 7 on VR. Holy
I was about to
shit.
say, I think like the horror VR bar is pretty high.
And that was the thing. That was so amazing. When we filmed the PlayStation VR show, right? We tried to do an episode on Paranormal Activity. And we ended up stopping in the middle, like, this isn't good, scrap it. You know what I mean? Of like, we wanted it to be fresh and jump scary, and we just didn't enjoy it at all. But my thought process when we scrapped it was like, well, the Impatient's coming up. I'll be able to drop Tim into a cool moment and go from that. And it's just like, Kevin watched off screen, and it was just a lot of picking stuff up and looking around. And it's just like, this isn't what this game should have been.
Does it feel like something that was made for VR?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, not in a good way necessarily, right?
Sure, yeah.
Because you move so slowly. Like even walking around your room, like when you first got it and you put it on, like there's a whole scene of like calibration pretty much where the guy's like, all right, now get out of your bed and walk to me, and you walk over to him and you move so slow. I was like, well, this makes sense. I'm out of a wheelchair. I'm using
and I'm sure that's all comfort issue stuff, but it doesn't mean it's the best solution.
Exactly. And so like when they do open it up and you're like walking around the outside down hallways, you're just like, all right, I'm clearly going there. Let's
top
speed
of
up
the
a bit.
game like that, I imagine, it sounds like you're in a room or in a cell or something where it's like you want to have sort of probably free teleportation, but then it's like you can't teleport out of your cell, so how do you handle it? And maybe something's just don't quite work thematically, which then taints the movement, it sounds like.
I thought Until Dawn looked so good. You remember how well faces looked.
In the main menu, you're like, whoa.
Yeah, granted, it's VR. You're going to have the screen door effect, yada, yada. I wasn't playing on a Pro. I'm playing on my retail unit here. Like, there's a distinct moment that's meant to be like the don't move moment and all this shit's happening. And when the scary thing shows up, I'm just like, that looks terrible. Like this just doesn't look good. And like there's no, at the end, it's almost, if it wasn't easy platinum, I would just read the Wikipedia. But like at some point I'm gonna have an hour and a half to myself and just be like, well, let's go make the other choices and see where it all plays out. But I was like, I can't, and it sucked to be playing it and Kevin come in and like, how is it? I'm like, it's not, I'm bored right now, but I'm hoping. And he kept checking in every 15 minutes. I'm like, it's still not there.
So I guess, I mean, I'm curious from that spectrum of like Until Dawn to Rush of Blood to Impatient, like that's pretty sort of connected games are very different. Like what would you want to see from Supermassive as like a next thing? Like,
well, I'd want to see them do Until Dawn 2 or an Until Dawn game like that, right? Like they're doing Bravo Team as well. And it's like, okay. This scares me for Bravo Team. Because I feel like they missed the mark so much here. Like I don't even think they're. I
imagine that's a different team though too.
Of course. I'm painting with a very broad brush here, but it's just the fact of, okay, like I thought this was a slam dunk. I think since Until Dawn and with Rush of Blood, it's been like,
I don't know if everyone loved Rush of Blood, but
well, sure, but I mean,
did.
for what it was.
Yeah.
I mean, like, right, of like, hey, here's this shooting gallery on. My only complaint ever with Rush of Blood was just like, why did they attach Until Dawn to this? Like, that was a weird thing. Why are you trying to make this Until Dawn?
I guess to me, the reason I loved it so much is, with VR, shooting galleries work, and it's fun. The idea of shooting guns and being able to move and see your hands and all shit, like that is a function that really works.
Yeah.
On rails, on a roller coaster type thing, that works.
Yeah.
And when you take that and add jump scares and shit, scary games in VR, that works. So to me, I'm like, that game works more than most things I've experienced on it.
Totally.
And it wasn't just experience. There's a game there.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're not wrong at all. Like, I think you're right. And that's the thing here is that this is a game caught somewhere between a game and an experience. And like, there's ideas here, but they just didn't execute on anything.
Yeah. That
Bummer.
sucks. Next game I want to talk about, Guacamelee 2.
Oh yeah,
You motherfucker.
Yeah. It's more just being a jerk and teasing
You
it.
motherfucker.
But,
How are my drink box boys doing?
and they're doing well.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're making a great game. Yeah, so I've been doing some like consulting type stuff in my new weird freelance
your new-
adventure. And one of those things was recently to work with those guys to sort of do a full play test and play through the game and give them a
wow.
bunch of feedback, which was a couple weeks ago. And I basically got the okay from them to say like, yeah, I played it. It's coming along great.
I was going to say,
it's
I
really
wonder
cool.
if you, your
But
playtest is like,
it's-
this is shit. They're like, oh, talk about it on any podcast you want.
It's great to go back to that world after like 4 or 5 years or whatever
yeah,
it's been.
yeah.
And just immediately really charming and funny and looks like beautiful. I mean, they had like a great art direction before, art style,
Yeah.
but now like it's amazing lighting and there's just lots of little touches that are really nice and it's coming along
I
great.
can't wait.
Yeah,
Love those
I
guys.
wasn't quite sure what to expect because it was a nice surprise when they announced it.
Yeah.
Like the PSX, pre-show or whatever.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's coming along well. Because you asked me like we're talking about what we're playing, and I was like, "What have I been playing?" Oh yeah, that one thing I can't talk about, but at least I wanted to
You
say
have
that.
something to say.
I got something.
And then Blossom Tales, Greg.
Oh, right. Yeah, Blossom Tales. This is the
I
one.
don't know what that is.
It's a, here, I'll show you.
It's a Link to the Past style.
It's a knockoff of Link to the
Switch
Past.
game.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Okay, maybe I saw that in the store. Yeah.
Yeah, no. It's fun. It's good.
When I was trying to find video games on the Switch store, which is an
Oh yeah!
interesting
If only
challenge.
there were a few on there. If only you know what I
Yeah.
mean. That you weren't like constantly barraged by it. But no,
Tennis.
it's totally a link between
Chess.
or a Link to the Past. I was jumping a Link Between Worlds. Zelda game that you're going through, top down like that. Except this time you play as
Even the menu font is
totally,
reminiscent.
totally. It's a brilliant game. Like right now, as I restart it for you, it is very much Princess Bride, where a grandfather's telling a story to the kids, and so it's littered with jokes and all stuff. When you restart the game and you pick back up, he does a little recap of where you left off in the story.
That's,
Like that.
that's art direction.
When you start the game, it is very much like he's like, "Have I told you the story about this guy who's lost in time and his name is?" And they cut him off like, "Yeah, you say that all the time." So he tells you this new story, or them this new story.
That's
where
funny.
you're the I think princess or the king's daughter or whatever, and you want to join the knights, and you've finally been accepted into the knights, and then all hell breaks loose, and you have to go through, and you're playing through, fighting monsters, doing dungeons, like
That's some quality pot smashing. So that's
exactly
that's
lots
important.
of pot smashing. Yeah.
I wasn't sold on this because
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I don't really need it. Seeing this right now in action in the dungeon,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh wow, this really.
Hold on, Kev's gonna show you how Sky came in a second here. There it is,
There we
it is.
go.
You have
Tilt it-
51
tilt it a
friend
little bit.
requests,
There
by
you
the
go.
way. Greg.
Yeah, I know. No, you're fine. No,
Oh,
he's
God.
got
Oh,
Sky
yeah.
Cam. He's got
Oh,
Sky
my
Cam
God,
for you.
Sky Cam.
Yeah. Another reason if you audio listeners should pull your car over. No,
my God.
I would have. What had happened is, I guess, yeah, this is what I was wrong about with Celeste. Is that I had played this on the flight to Canada and had a great time and loved it. And then when I landed there, my Celeste code came in, started playing it at the Airbnb, and I was like, oh, fuck, I love this game. And then jumped in.
God.
So
It's
Celeste
getting-
is what
it's getting
derailed
hard.
me here. But this game, also awesome. I had asked you guys last Gamescast that I was on what I should play, and you had shouted this game out, bought it. I love it. I want to play
Well,
more of it,
okay.
yeah. But it kind of falls into, here's the one downside to it.
Oh, this looks cool.
It falls into,
It's very stressful doing this live.
what's the knockoff Zelda that I was always talking about?
Ocean Horn.
Oceanhorn. It's a very Oceanhorn game, right? Of like, cool. When I left Oceanhorn, I wasn't really compelled to go back. When I left this one, now granted, I'm playing Celeste and there's a million other Switch games I have on there right now. It is very much like, I loved this. This was a great experience. It killed the flight. That was perfect. And I really liked it. But I'm not like, I need to go back and play it, right? Because it's more Zelda, and that's great. And if that's exactly what you want, fantastic. Hats off to you.
Yeah, seems borderline litigious, but very cool.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's like 3D dot game heroes.
Yeah,
or
wow.
Oceanhorn, yeah. But yeah, I like it a lot. I thought it was great.
Cool, thank you.
No problem.
And then Iconoclasts.
I just backed you up like 6 screens, by the way.
That's fine. That's fine. This is very much gonna be one of those games I start and I'm like, where did I leave off?
Oh, nice. Look at that Night in the Woods just came out today.
Oh yeah, of course. I'm on it, man. Come on. Another game that I abandoned too early on PlayStation 4.
Oh really? Oh man, it's so good.
A game everyone's like, Greg, Night in the Woods is your jam. You need to play this game. And I started on PlayStation 4. I was like, this is great. And then the next day, whatever came, and I had to go play that. Iconoclast. Have you played this at all?
No, I'm curious about it though.
I mean, this is a shitty thing of where I played the first 2 or 3 levels or something like that. Or I put maybe 30 an hour into it before I left. It was so good that I want to come back to it now that I'm back. Yeah.
It looks really, really cool.
PlayStation 4.
Okay.
Yeah. And it was that thing where
it's on Vita too.
I know it's on Vita, and it was the day or 2 days before I guess I left, where it was like, no, I'm just bringing the Switch. I want to commit to finally playing some of these games. So I bought so much stuff right before I left for the trip.
I had a weird existential moment before I went on my own trip like a week ago where I was like, oh, Iconoclast came out on Vita. Should I bring my Vita on the plane and play? Which is where I used to play a lot of Vita stuff. And I worked at Sony and I loved Vita and spent a lot of time with it. But I was like, now I got the Switch. Oh man, this is a weird moment. But then I went with my Switch.
I have this Waterfield Way bag. It's not an ad. But it's the same bag I had for my Vita, but big enough for the Switch, and I can fit both in there.
Nice.
So for a while I was dual wielding, and I was like, this time I have to. I bought so much stuff. I put so much. There's so much shit on Switch I haven't played. I needed to commit to it. Iconoclast, first blush, really cool. Really like it. Beautiful art style. I like the gameplay of it. 2D scrolling, shooting stuff. It's great.
Have you played Owlboy?
No, I'm waiting for that here.
Okay, yeah, I'm waiting for it
from everything else as well.
Isn't that in like days?
Yeah.
Is it?
Wait.
No,
they pushed it. Right? It was
like
supposed
2
to
weeks, right?
I thought it was supposed to be like January 25th, and now it's
Great.
February.
I'm excited to play that because they,
Did you play it on PC at all?
No, I haven't played either.
Oh, okay.
I think Owlboy I was maybe a little more interested in. I think that I like the art a little bit more, but I'm curious about both. But
Owlboy came through our GDC stream right after we left and started Kind of Funny, and we were all like, "That's amazing." But then it was sort of like, "Well,
both games have been around for
exactly. I know
10 years or
we're just the
Great
console
reviews
plebes.
on Steam, and the Hollow Knight's coming too. Very excited for that.
Yeah,
but
I'm
I think
dying for that.
there's still no date for that as far as I understand.
Right.
But God, so much cool shit.
Yeah.
And then
driving games.
the last game to talk about, Mom Hid My Game.
Yeah.
You guys both played this.
Oh yeah.
What is this?
Nick, explain it.
I would say I'm a long time fan of the franchise.
Yeah.
Which started with Hidden My Game by Mom on
totally
mobile.
broken.
I don't know if it's just on iOS, but it's definitely on iOS. And Hidden My Game by Mom too. And then My Brother Ate My Pudding is sort of the spiritual successor there.
Have you heard of any of these games?
Fucking with me?
No.
These are all, yeah. And actually, the developer Hap Inc. I think has made like a whole bunch more games. But oh yeah,
Play a level. Just play a level.
Can we just get that jam up on the?
Yeah. Put that. Yeah.
Gotta hear that. That's. So they. I wish they had actually left the original title intact.
Oh yeah, totally.
Now
totally.
Mom Hid My Game. It's like I guess that's a sentence that makes sense.
Yeah.
But
that was another thing where Jen, when I was playing this on the plane, leaned over. She's like, "Oh, that's funny. They fix stuff." I'm like, what are you talking about? I've never heard of this before.
It's just super charming, really funny, like. It's just like great comedy through game design.
Yeah.
And you actually called it a hidden object game, which I hadn't even really thought of. It sort of is, where it's like.
So the idea is that you play too many video games, so your mom steals what basically looks like a 3DS. It might even be a 3DS for this Nintendo version.
I think it looks more like a 3DS now.
Yeah, exactly. And so she takes it and hides it around the house. So every level is you opening cupboards or moving drapes and trying to find it, but it gets progressively crazier and crazier and crazier to where crowds of people are walking through your house and you have to figure out how to stop them. Your mom's over there with a lampshade on her head in case you accidentally tap her, but sometimes you'll think it's going to be her and it's not. That's what you need to tap the solution for.
There's lots of really funny, weird, subversive like comedy moments.
Yeah.
And there's also some like weird, I don't want to spoil any puzzles, but did you play the originals or just this one?
No, just this one. This
Oh man, you should play the sequel too. I don't know if it's going to come to Switch, but so the first one actually was like 30 levels, and this is the same thing, only they added like 20 more or so. And there's also a couple key levels where they have sort of meta puzzles that I don't want to ruin, but are like brilliant. When you do it, you're like, oh, that's amazing.
Oh, sure.
And then actually, I don't know if you finished this one.
I haven't finished it.
But now I haven't finished this one either. I've been trying to take it slow on purpose. But the endings actually of both games are like really poignant and sweet. And I was like, oh man, in this very silly game, they managed to have this really like sweet commentary on like playing too many video games, and it's just like a wonderful ending. It's really charming. I love that. That dev.
I was going to say I do not like the controls at all. Then I realized touchscreen.
Yeah,
the
yeah.
touchscreen.
Yep.
That makes that shit choice.
It's funny because like it's amazing that like there's a version of this now on Switch, and it's like barely like not a mobile game, but it is, and it works, and it's great. And like I said, it's like 50 levels now. There's a whole bunch of new stuff. So even if you played the original on iOS, which you probably didn't, let's be honest, it's a great game. It's hilarious. Like it's a wonderful thing. If I hadn't played the original, like I would be recommending this even more strongly. Like this would have been like a total shock out of nowhere.
Oh yeah, that's what it was for me. When I started, I'm like, I don't like people. You guys had recommended it, the Gamescast audience. And I looked into it, I was like, all right, like I like hidden object games. How is it going to be interesting? And then when it is like, oh, this is just a comedy. Where it is like you start doing stuff you think it would do or whatever, and like that's totally the wrong answer.
I just opened a closet and an alligator came out, so.
Yep, that's a lot of the game. I'm trying to pull up my phone so I can look at the other. There's another recent release by that same developer that's a little bit creepy, but still fun.
Mom hit my body.
Toki Meter.
What's Toki Meter?
It's you're like sort of trying to impress a girl that you're chasing after and just doing different things and like catching flowers for her and stuff. And it's got a Toki Meki meter, which I don't know what that means, but anyway, a little weirder, a little creepier, but still fun sense of humor.
Yeah. Well, Nick, thank you very much for joining us. Where can people get the book?
Bossfightbooks.com. You can also, and actually, that's where you get like the physical book. You can also get the ebook, maybe the physical book on Amazon, and a couple scant bookstores across like the Strand in New York and maybe what's called Powell's in Portland, like some of the big famous bookstores. Bossfightbooks.com. Agro is the 15% off code we got going right now in celebration of the remake. Thanks for having me.
Now, Tim, before you let us go,
I
of course again need to remind the FTC that PlayStation sent us those games. They didn't pay us to tell us about it. We got to tell you that they sent them to us. Because I'm sure you thought we somehow murdered a man and got Shadow Colossus early, but no, in fact, they sent it to us. But they didn't pay us to talk about it. That's why I can say the Impatient, not worth your time or money. Sorry.
Until next time. I love you.
I didn't get anybody. I'm just saying what it is. Call him like I see him. Play Monster Hunter, everybody. Come find Kevin and I.
And play Celeste. Seriously.
Too many games already.
Too many games. And Shadow of the Colossus. God.
And buy the book.
Do it all, man.
And follow Nick on Twitter.
Buy the soundtrack to Celeste.
Grow a beard.
Do it all. Oh my God. Thank you for watching that. You can click here to subscribe to Kind of Funny Games. You can click there to subscribe to Kind of Funny. You can click right there to, I don't know. What do I want to put there? A random episode of Kind of Funny Morning Show. And right here, nothing.
Wow.
Absolutely
Man,
nothing.
You are on a LaCroix bender.
I am.